Warning: the Karma Files, Paranormal and Unexplained podcast episodes may contain explicit content and language and may not be suitable for young ears. Parental discretion is advised.
Have you ever had the feeling that you're being watched? Have you ever heard disembodied voices coming from seemingly nowhere? Have you ever been touched by unseen hands? Have those that crossed over tried to communicate with you, trying to give you messages for their loved ones from the other side? Are you ever awakened at night by the sound of footsteps that stop right by your bedside? And have you seen objects move on their own accord? No? I have.
Welcome to another episode of the Karma Files. This is Dan's Nightmare. Location: Hamilton, a province of Ontario, Canada. 2 p.m. on January 3rd, 2023. Dan is a house cleaner, and he and his workmate had gone to a client's house that they regularly go to every 2 weeks. No one is ever home when they do their service. They always have to disable and set the alarm, arriving and leaving. Dan really didn't notice anything off at first about the house, but did think it looked a bit darker than usual inside. He chalked it up to the gloomy weather and drawn blinds, which are usually closed. They got right to work. Dan headed down to the basement, and his workmate headed to the top floor. He had only cleaned the family room in the basement once before, so he wasn't as comfortable as he was with the main floor, so it felt a little awkward to him. He tidied the rooms in the basement, vacuumed, etc., and headed back upstairs to the kitchen, shutting off all the lights behind him. He was halfway through his kitchen routine when he heard an annoying sound from a phone when it's been left off the hook. He pulled out his earbuds and headed to the living room, looking for the sound. His workmate came from the master bathroom to the upstairs loft area and asked Dan where the sound was coming from. Dan shrugged and kept looking around, checking the cordless phone in the connecting dining room, but it was fine. Dan's workmate found the phone in the corner on the balcony. It was one of the older styles, with the receiver on a coil cord. It was completely off the hook and was lying on the table. She replaced it and looked at him confused. She said she had gone right to the bathrooms upstairs, and she hadn't even been to the loft area yet. At this point, they had been in the house for about an hour. Surely the phone would have made noise before that. They both shrugged it off and got back to work. They finished up their work, and Dan headed downstairs to the basement again to check his work before leaving. He noticed one of the lights in the basement was still on. He just assumed he had hit the wrong switch before he came upstairs the first time. He checked everything, turned off all the lights, and went back upstairs and headed to the top floor to check his workmates' rooms. He did pause to look at the phone, and it was still snug in its holder. But the LCD screen on the base was flashing kind of weird. Like the backlight was burning out or something. Everything upstairs looked fine. But now the light was on in the guest room bathroom. So he switched it off and headed down to the main floor, telling his workmate she forgot the light. She said she was sure she shut it off, but could have forgotten it. It happens. They went to leave, and Dan saw one of the lights still on in the basement. He knew for sure he had shut it off. He mentioned it to his workmate, and she just laughed and said, "Oh God, ghosties." Dan turned off the light and once again went to leave when they heard the phone beeping again upstairs. They were both in shock. They went upstairs together, and there was the phone, off the hook, laying on the table. Dan ran to the phone and slammed the receiver on the holder, and the two of them bolted out of the house as fast as they could. Dan never had anything weird happen at that house before, so he was confused. He and his workmate chatted and laughed about it in the car on the way back to the shop, joking about ghosts and trying to rationalize. Maybe it was a slip of the mind on the client's part and on our part. Dan had forgotten about it until the other day, when the office manager said that the client had forgotten that they were coming yesterday. And though she was grateful they had come, she had canceled the next few of her upcoming services, as her husband had just passed away over the holidays. Was it the widow's husband making sure Dan and his workmate had done a good job cleaning their home? After all, the late great American humorist Irma Bombeck used to say, "Housework, if you do it right, can kill you." As always, take what you need for your daydreams. Leave what you don't for your nightmares. Sweet dreams. At times, my life can seem like the scariest of nightmares. Believer or skeptic, I know the veil is thin between us and those on the other side. Do you experience the paranormal? If you don't, then maybe you're the ghost. This was a full moon bonus episode of the Mind Your Own Karma podcast called The Karma Files. If you enjoyed being terrified by my stories, you can haunt my DMs on Facebook or Instagram and let me know that you're dying for more. Do you have a scary story to tell? If so, you can send it to thekarmafiles@gmail.com, and if it gives me the chills, it might be featured on a future full moon bonus episode. I want to personally welcome you to my nightmares. I think you're gonna like it here.